This is the What Do You Know show hosted by Rio and my co-host Griff.
What's up?
Now, before we address this guy right here, I have to tell you guys I'm wearing the limited edition Black History Month driver's seat apparel. I got both colorways on the table. I'm a major fan. Go and support driver's seat, K-Dog, and an Indianapolis fashion brand. I had to get that out the way. Now, to address the elephant in the room, the big man himself, Keenan.
Damn, man. Damn.
Now,
What's
let me
good?
just tell you, what's good, bro?
What's good?
This guy, he's something special. I happened to meet him.
This guy.
I happened to meet him in college. Okay, can I
Go
do
ahead,
a quick
bro.
story about how we met?
Do your thing, bro. Do your
Okay,
thing.
so as you know, when you go into college, or if you don't know, you're more than likely as a freshman going to be placed in a dorm room. Oh, a dorm floor, a dormitory. And me and Elijah showed up late. Elijah Breeze, the rapper. We showed up late to the dorm meeting, the floor meeting.
The first one of the year.
The entire
for all
year.
all the people that were living on the floor.
Entire
for
year.
The entire year. First one of the
Yeah.
entire year.
Yeah, and me and Elijah were late.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's funny about the whole thing is me and Elijah coming from the inner city, coming from a black culture, we were inspired by that. I'm obviously not black, but we were both raised in that culture and the tradition. Who do we see? We see our man's Keenan, who happened to be the only black man on the floor that year.
Boy, and when I tell you, quick interjection.
Go ahead.
I was sitting there.
We have the same experience.
I was sitting there in that meeting. I was like, this is about to be an interesting year, and ain't no other black people on this floor. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, man, this is about to be hell. And then, bro, I was like, and then like everybody left, and then I see Rio and Elijah pulling up. I'm like, oh, thank God. I was like, oh,
no.
somebody with some cultural competency. I saw Rio had like I saw like, because this is like OG, like when a different era of streetwear, when like 10 Deep was still the shit, like when Hundreds was still the shit, bro. I saw what y'all had on. I was like, yeah, I was like, and they not rocking it in a corny way. Yeah, they cool.
Yeah.
they cool.
And to be real with you, we thought the same thing because we saw you with an Asian fella who was. I knew you were gonna laugh out of that, bro.
Sung Hyun.
If you're watching,
Bro, Sung Hyun, if you're watching this, bro, we love you.
yeah, and
You guys. I love you guys.
Oh Jesus! No, so he was a Korean international student, right?
Yes.
And so we saw this
Specifically from South Korea, from Seoul.
Well, he ain't coming from North Korea.
Hey, man.
So anyway, we've gone a little bit too long in the intro, but let me just say that
bro, it's your podcast.
so,
man. Go
but no,
ahead.
and so what we did, it was me as Griff podcast, but no,
Y'all.
we happened to actually live right adjacent from one another on the floor. And it was certainly a destiny that happened because when we started to discuss things with another, like how we were raised, our high school years, middle school, we already thought that we should have been known each other based on the cultural scenes that we were at in Indy. And it's just so interesting how a big world seemingly can get so small, so quick. And it surely did with us. And then we will fast forward here a bit to senior year where all of us lived in the same household. Wasn't that, Griff, the best year of college?
That is probably the greatest year of my life.
Yeah, me too, bro.
Like single.
Nah, easy. It's
Yeah.
easy, bro.
It's like a no-brainer. It's like,
So
how do I get 4 more of those years?
So
Yeah.
it's this guy, that guy, Rex, and Breeze.
Rex.
And Rex produced the intro song for this podcast.
Hell yes. Bro, I'm adding like surnames to Rex's name, bro. Rex the elusive, Rex the tyrant, Rex the quiet. Bro, so I'm gonna keep coming up with them, but right now we gonna stick with Rex the elusive because this man, I thought I was low key, bro. Rex Like, bro, it's like this goes into hibernation, bro, and then when he comes out, he'll growl for like 5 minutes and then go back to hibernation.
Yeah. But this podcast isn't about Rex.
Hey,
What
shout
it
out
is-
Rex though.
Quit smiling, Rex.
Wipe that goddamn grin off your face.
You know he was grinning that time, right?
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so no. Okay, the point of what I'm trying to introduce Keenan is we created a fabric, a collective, and you and Elijah Breeze, the rapper, really created a very strong bond, and y'all worked together. You were his social media manager. You did a lot of his photography. You did a lot to bolster his brand. What did that relationship mean to you, especially as a young entrepreneur? You know, and this is like your first major, like what we call quote unquote client. What did that mean to you?
Bro, I gotta say, man, that's like
No cussing on the podcast.
shoo.
10 minutes in.
We're gonna talk about beep.
Okay, I'm glad that. Okay, so no cussing.
All right,
Got you.
this is for kids.
All right, so one time for the kids. Let me. So being, I'll say like that senior year. Okay, actually, I'll take y'all back to a specific memory that I had. I think Elijah and I were watching. It was somebody like that was like young and that was our age, and I think it was like a late night show like type appearance or something.
Okay.
And bro, we looked up and we were like, these is like really on, and they our age. And I think Elijah looked up. He was like, bro, why can't that be us? And then like I looked back and I was like, why the fuck can't that be us? Like, no, that very much so can be. And I feel like that was one like moment, like a stark moment that I remember that started that journey of, oh, all the that we see in the world with like young entrepreneurs like making it quote unquote like or making amazing art at very high levels and having budgets to do their art and to make art. I was like, this is all possible. And also, we're more than capable. We got to grind for it, but we there's no reason that also cannot be us. So I feel like with having that kind of, both of y'all. So with that kind of a relationship that I built with Elijah, it was one where it was, I say like one of the first times where I feel like I had a true like creative foil, where it's like, oh, okay, you and I are on the same page creatively and we have different strengths, and how those strengths combine, I was like, okay, this is actually powerful. And for me, it gave me a chance to practice and to learn a lot of different things. For me, there was one point where I was being financially compensated to run his social media and to make sure that like it was going. Like I shot, and there's a lot of work that I did for Breeze. Like I shot the cover of Adam in our living room.
That was fun.
Yeah, so I shot the cover of Adam in our living room that senior year. Let's see. I did a lot of like just photo shoots just with him, like, and also like for class, even when he and I
Journalism.
Yeah, so he and I also were in the media school, and that also helped. So we also would use class and class assignments in order to be able to like make
Beep.
work, class assignments and stuff
And
to
whatnot.
be able to make. We would use class assignments as opportunities to also continue practicing and create content that represented his brand. So not only was it a chance for me to be able to give for me a valuable gift to someone who I consider family, but also a chance for me to stretch myself creatively and also working consistently with one person.
Yeah.
And I feel like the work still continues till today. Like with I say Elijah and I was just in New York like 2-3 months ago, and he and I like shot a music video, you know what I mean, and took a few photos. but that's just always the nature of how we work because of that relationship that we built, and it started in college and it's just continued through the present. I'm pretty sure there's still other shit that like still other stuff that we could. I'm sorry, I'm a little too loose.
This man is
could,
loaded on Patron America.
Excuse me. I do like brown liquor.
I'm just kidding, y'all. Anyway,
And I do like tequila.
Continue. You've been
These are
you've been
lies.
filler brushing for a straight 3 minutes.
I sure have.
Griff is sitting over there quiet.
He's like,
No. And I wanted to
Okay.
actually address something, but I'll let you finish what you were gonna say.
last point that I'll make is that relationship that I have is still it still creatively serves me in a lot of ways. It also adds to a lot of my portfolio came through working with him, and then also the relationships that he and I made individually also became part of our collective network, which turned into other opportunities. So that's it means a lot to me. You know what I mean? That was like my first shot, and that I also was able to build that relationship with Elijah.
And aside from everything else, the experience of learning with someone and growing with someone and working with someone, it's just beneficial to your personal character. But since this is for the kids out there, what I'm telling you is that the experience that you gained by doing work for free, doing work with someone that you trust and believe in, is wholly beneficial. Monetary gain can't even come close to that level, the value of gaining experience. And when I would watch you two collaborate and discuss things and the level in which you two had bonded, because I've known Elijah my whole life, and Aaron on his show, we were talking about how the relationship that they built was partially through the music, but more holistically, it was because of the love that they had as friends, and that respect that they had gained from viewing, in terms of Griff's relationship with Breeze, his drive, his ambition, right? And it just fueled Aaron. He was saying like when Elijah would learn something, it would drive him to learn something too. And for people who want to chase their dreams and believe in themselves, you have to find people to work with, because we are communal people. We need to work with one another to grow. And like I said, not just monetarily, but through experience and wisdom. And so what would you like to say about how you viewed their relationship through college? Or could you criticize like what I had just described about you and Elijah's relationship in relation to his relationship with Elijah and how y'all grew as essential business partners? Because I wasn't unable to do that with Elijah. I couldn't help him with the music. My camera I'm using now I got from you. I bought it, but you had taught me so much about photography. They were able to do their own thing. Could you like maybe light us on like what you think about what we're talking about?
From my perspective, the way that you and Elijah work, first of all, you and Elijah just interact differently than pretty much anybody I know. It's like you guys get together and it's immediately a different atmosphere. The two of you y'all are odd together, not in a bad way, but y'all just have like maybe it's because you guys have worked together so frequently that you guys have a lingo. There's like already a line of running jokes that you guys are exchanging back and forth, and so that sort of translates to the way you guys work together. Is there's a common understanding between the two of you that this is what we need to do, this is how we're going to do it. I have this idea, and then you sort of just immediately add to that idea, and it just compounds and compounds. Whereas with me and Elijah, it's usually he has an artistic vision, and I have a technical understanding of what needs to happen. And so it's he's got this thing, I got this thing, and they kind of stack on top of each other, but they're two very distinct things. Whereas you and him it just booms and booms and booms. You guys just add to that smoke cloud.
Actually, and I think that that's probably the clearest I've ever heard that my relationship with Elijah explained, because a lot of it just is spontaneous, the creation. Yeah. Now, that leads to some major wins and some major challenges.
Yeah.
like some dubs, man. I'm telling you. At the same time, some of the work that I've produced that I'm most proud of came from that creative spitballing. Yeah. There was a music video that I did with Elijah for Union Station, and then halfway through, it turned into the music video for Atlantic Ave. Woo! Now, for that one, he actually pushed me to be a little more detailed. It was like, no, we're going to storyboard this music video. So, like, we went to a diner that morning, and I sketched out the entire music video of how this was going to go, had all my shots aligned. I was like, this is the storyline. And it's also like, okay, this is all abstract storytelling that's driven through symbolism. This'll work. And then when we actually get out there, the atmosphere is comfortable because he and I also are bouncing like creative ideas off of one another during the shoot. Yeah. So it's still there's still an ease in terms of the process. Mm-hmm. And it's not too rigid to the point that it's not fun. So
right, because y'all had a good relationship personally instead of the business.
Exactly. Exactly. So even like I think I was talking to him yesterday, and like he and I had a minute, like actually had a minute to catch up, which these days for me is just rare because like life is moving very fast, and a lot of the work that I'm doing moves very fast and requires a lot of attention to detail, consistent check-ins, and a lot of process. We was just in there conversating and came up with like a short film, like it was like 3 minutes, and it just happened just through just telling each other jokes and like just building on the joke. Beep. I was like, just just telling each other jokes. I was like, you know what? I was like, that's actually an amazing, visually, I see where our jokes just led, and that visually actually looks very raw. And so literally just like got my sketch pad out right then and there. We're like notes app on my computer. But just typed it up right there. I was like, okay, this is actually a fire idea that I can save for later. And then maybe you and I can like co-direct this when you come back to town. Or like we can figure out logistically how to get that done. Yeah. So yeah.
That actually is funny because it's completely different from me and Griff's relationship in terms of the podcast. I remember him coming over one night, and I was still living at my mom's house. It was 4 or 5 months ago at this point. And he was like, so you want to like do this show? I was like, yeah, this is it, blah, 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 da, 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 da. And he was like, okay, but how's it going to be? What do the viewers want? How's it going to be realistic? How are you going to get this done? Do you want to do this? Can I help? No, I want to help. No, let's do it together. And I'm like, yes. Because I'm like, I understand that I lacked, because what I was telling Griff was, I wanted to do, I expressed I wanted to do the highest quality I could, but I lacked the technical understanding of audio engineering. I lacked the perspective that Griff can offer you in a hard-line way. He's very rigid, and he's able to, that's why when I had described you and Elijah, I thought you had molded his ideas. You certainly molded mine, and so I'm using my own perspective. And Griff and I work so well together because we have that innate level of trust. How is that important, like when you work, not just with Elijah, but let's say Diop, for instance, or all the people that you work with? Oh, this guy, I was actually hammering home a great. You were. I was doing it. I'm the host. I led a whole thing. And this guy cracks up laughing when I name Diop. Dude. He's an essential business partner. You have the personal relationship outside of business. Do you have a sense of trust with Diop? Or how important is it to have a sense of trust with people that you're working with intimately and you want to produce a great product?
I'll speak first to my relationship with Diop. Is someone that I have known. I've known him longer than I haven't known him. I've known Diop since I was 7 years old.
I got friends like that now, yeah.
Diop has watched me grow up. Diop's a grown man now. Like he's like, I say like I'm a grown man, but like Diop's a grown man.
I'm about to say don't put personal information out here on the waves.
Yeah, like no, like Diop's now in his early 30s. And so his whole his whole perspective on life and how he approaches things is very mature and very different flavor. And I've also watched him grow. And I've also been able to learn from his lessons. So like, and also like even growing up, Diop was always a mentor to me. So like I'm always like just real grateful for the relationship that I do have with Diop. And like Diop, like I'll say this. When you're young and you don't know exactly what you're doing, it's hard for people to put their trust in you. It is not easy, and it also takes a tender heart, and B, a commitment to someone's growth and development. So for me, Diop, and the most recent example of Diop's trust in me, and also an investment in my own development, as well as also for both of us being able to reap the rewards of that trust, was the Still Shining documentary.
Oh, you read my mind. That's where I was going.
That documentary, like that was my first attempt at doing that. And there was 3 music videos in that documentary that were cut up, spliced, in like 5 interviews, B-roll that I had been getting for months. And all I had was a skinny layout, but I had not really a clear-cut plan of what I was doing. There are some things that I know now that if I had known then, I would approach that whole project differently. But it came out so well because I feel like a big part of that was Diop's trust in, hey, this is the process. And then also him pushing me. Because there was a point where it was taking forever. Like, hey, man, I like him giving me that push that I need to execute. And so that trust is everything. And it makes you feel uncomfortable to do business with somebody that you do not have either a personal relationship with, or B, a sense of shared values. That y'all can both trust in. Okay, we both have this set of values. I can put trust in that because I know who you are as a person, even if we might be very different.
Yeah, and for some people, it's very hard to receive harsh criticism. But when you trust someone and you know that you love someone, Keenan, I got to get this thing done. What's going on? When you hear that, it's a boost. He put the battery in your back. It wasn't something that made you feel insecure. It was something that pushed you, like you were saying, to develop better and develop faster, and to really what it does is if anybody who's seen Gurren Lagann, he said don't trust in yourself, trust in me, that I trust in you. And when you put that trust in someone, because we all unfortunately have a perception of ourselves that's based on how others perceive us. When you have a trust and love with somebody and they are driving you towards success, you feed off of that and it makes you better. And that's why I wanted to bring that up. And since you mentioned it, this is where I was going to go with that. The Still Shining documentary, you can find it on YouTube. Where else can you find it?
You can actually, right now it's only up
it's only on YouTube. Yeah. Exclusive content. YouTube, pay this man.
On the
Google, pay this man.
Pay me.
Because listen,
and it is on the Flex Forever page.
Okay, flexforever.com?
No, the Flex Forever YouTube page.
Oh, got you. Okay, got you. Yeah, I mean, Diop is also selling merch for Flex Forever, his personal brand. And if you don't know who Diop is, where can you find his music at, real quick?
I'm not sure if he still has his site Diop Musica, but if he does, you can go to diopmusic.com, or you can go to his Instagram account, and the link in his bio. That's DIOOO. Okay, excuse me. DIOOOP. Diop. Like
deal.
Deal.
Anyway. So Griff, we are collectively hogging this thing.
Oh, real quick, I do have to mention.
We just keep hogging it.
I actually do need to mention. I do need to mention though, as far as Flex Forever goes, that also. Okay, there's this hoodie that they put out, like the Fever, Fever collection, crazy, and also Diab's partner Sierra is like I would say an amazing visual art, just an amazing artist, period. And I feel like she has also been able to bring in and breathe new life into Flex Forever. Nice. And so she's also behind a lot of the recent designs you've seen. Those hoodies are fire. Nice. To like hand painted graphics on each one. Like I've never seen a hoodie that had like hand painted graphics, was distressed, like with like distressed fabric and like the acid wash. Great, like and she hooked it up, and it's a fire design. So
yeah,
that's her.
Yeah, the indie scene is growing so fast and so rapidly, and the reason why I was gonna bring Griff in is because we had that you hosted a party and we played the Still Shining documentary for all the people to see. Remember that? Yeah, what? And how fun! Yeah, well, we weren't talking, and so not by my own choice, but no. So we played that for all the people at the party, and the reception was really cool. They were like, "Wow, what is this?" Because the quality was so nice. The cuts that you utilize, like you said, either through B-roll or transitioning from interview to interview, showing in-depth perspective of the artists in which you've interviewed. It really just shows the breadth of the indie scene. And so, like, I want to just ask you, Griff, what did you think of the Still Shining documentary? Hot.
Been a while. Unfortunately, it's been a while. I gotta watch it again.
Who?
I love the honesty.
Patron.
I love the honesty.
See, Griff is also loaded up on Patron America. So.
Like, actually, though.
No.
Wait, didn't you drive?
Patron America. So anyway. No. Okay. But we did. Griff wanted to show your documentary at this party that he had hosted.
I had to.
You had to.
The second
man.
I got the link, I was like, well, I haven't seen this yet, and I'm going to have a lot of people here, so let's put it on the big screen. And actually, at one point, someone actually like grabbed the remote and was like trying to like rewind it, and I was like, it's on my laptop. Yeah,
we were streaming from the from the Mac.
Like, what's this movie? It's like, yeah, okay, let's start it over and we'll play it
it's a legitimately impressive documentary, and for all the background that you gave through the process of making it, if you were to see it, it doesn't look like what you described through the process. It is a clear-cut professional documentary, and it's very impressive for, like I said, what you described, that arduous process that you went through. From where you were when the Still Shining documentary released to what you're doing now, can you kind of describe what you're going through and how the art has evolved throughout the time?
All right.
Because this is a whole bunch of life experiences that this man is. His brain had a fast forwarding effect. He just imagined all the stuff. Mm-hmm. Stuff, not bleep.
Yes, the stuff.
The stuff he has been through.
So
we want to know about your art.
I've been learning in the gym how to put up triple doubles, metaphorically. That's like my whole thing right now. And like, I want to be able to wake up every day and like ball and put up a triple double.
Trying to be Russell Westbrook, metaphorically speaking.
Metaphorically speaking, I'm trying to be Russell Westbrook. Yes. Okay. But
I call him Russell Westbrook.
Yeah. Russell has become one of my favorite players. Like, his past 4 NBA seasons have been like amazing. But I watch a lot of basketball. It's a lot of different things about project management that you can learn through basketball.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So actually, that's a great segue into as far as what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So, nowadays, a lot more of what I'm being intentional about learning and developing is my project management skills. Okay. I am currently a Frontline Solutions Storytelling Fellow with the Climate Justice Alliance.
Can you repeat that for the people around the world?
Yes, I can. I'm a
Thank you very much. That was like a mouthful and a half.
Yeah, so I'm a storytelling fellow with Climate Justice Alliance, and I'm serving that fellowship with Kepler Institute. This is an organization an institute, and also a living and breathing philosophy that is very near and dear to my heart. I'm also responsible for a lot of the mentorship I've received, a lot of the free game that I've gotten over the years, and a lot of philosophy that I also now approach life with, about being able to maintain my own freedom, stand on my own too, and value and center my narrative at the center my own narrative in terms of power dynamics. Like, not placing too much power in what others think, or like what I'll say the dominant narrative is. So
Dominant narrative in terms of intersectional politics?
Dominant narrative
or
in terms
intersectional
of
sociology?
I'll say like dominant narrative in terms of dominant narrative of Western colonial thought, which also includes like excessive use of the earth and the earth's resources, of also white supremacy, of like human ownership of the planet. Like, I don't center my own power, and I don't center my own narrative around that narrative, which is what is drilled into you in school, and in media, in a lot of different areas of American life. And it's not just America. It's a lot of it is like what Western civilization has drilled into the minds of many through colonization, re-education, land seizures, a lot of that. So I
gotta pause you there. I just want to quickly say that we should have an entire show kind of diagnosing and analyzing and discussing those things, because it'd be very interesting for people to, you're able to rattle those things off. But what every single thing that you had said in terms of the phrases are complex and deeply intellectual discussions that deserve to be ironed out and wholly discussed. Like almost everything that you had said in terms of the philosophy in which Kepler has instituted within you. You like how I did that?
this man.
No, but what you have learned from the people and the organization and the holistic benefits to the ideologies in which you have just said, they deserve an ironed out discussion. And I don't think a lot of people, especially because this is the What Do You Know show, I would love to ask you for another 2 or 3 hours, what do you know, or ask these people, our audience, what do you know about almost all the different things you had just listed out there? Because
I'll take you up on that.
Yeah, well, I hope you do. I hope you do.
Yeah,
I hope you do. Yeah. Because people need to be able to talk about those type of complex ideologies and philosophies, because if we can't expand the dialogue and expose people to new information, and then expose people to a critical discussion about information, then we're going to be led to the divisive nature that we've seen, America go down, despite the fact that this is a place that can facilitate a unifying dialogue, especially through larger exposure to ideas and a larger acceptance of political differences, and in order to reach that unifying stage. And so, I want to get back to what you were saying about Kepra and all those things. I just wanted to quickly interject by letting the people know that Keenan is he's so brilliant that he can say things like Neil deGrasse Tyson, or and he can just lay in paragraphs and books and entire ideas in a simple sentence. And it's uncalled for. Be simplistic.
This man flatters me. This man, but this is my brother though. Both of y'all, like,
I could lay it on fat like that, but an interview, man. Just lay it out. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Look, well, okay. Actually, and I do agree, and we can definitely come back and follow up with that. To get back to your original question as far as what's going on now.
Yeah.
A lot of what I'm trying to do, and to even try to make what I said earlier simpler in terms of how it relates to what I'm doing in the present. What I am doing is I'm creating currently documentaries and community narratives that center the community's history and the community story, in the terms of just like of how they operate. Like I don't know how else to say. Like I'm centering a community's dialogue and a community's history, and a lot of times that gets overlooked, it gets ignored, it gets pushed away and pushed aside. When you're talking about anything from like zoning laws to redistribution of funds to education to access to capital, like so many times communities and like I'll say like working class communities, black and brown communities, poor communities get left out of that. So what I'm doing now with this fellowship is I've been given an opportunity to be able to highlight those community stories and people that are on the ground doing work every day and that dedicate themselves to the betterment, to creating a desired future state that serves the community's long-term holistic interests.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, I mean there's not a reason why there's no reason when with the abundance of everything that's on this earth why people have to go hungry, why people have to be sleeping on the streets, why there's such like high crime and like gun violence and shit and gun violence in our communities. All of these things, you know what I mean, also are not just there are reasons why these things exist. And it's not like the world could, one day be a perfect place. There's nothing new about violence in human history. There's nothing new about inequity and all that. But where it's at now, it's like grotesque. It's absolutely crazy that I could be shopping in Walmart and somebody could come and spray the entire store because of like how we treat abundance of weapons and our mentality towards weapons and all that. Like, that's crazy. Like,
well,
that's
crazy. Well, as you know, when you're in Britannia and the Romans came, they didn't come knock on the door. They murdered a whole village, blink of an eye.
Yeah, bro.
No, so nothing. So like I bring that. It's funny, but what I mean by that is, as we were talking before we shot, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
Things are different, but like you were saying, the essential human nature, the essential human story of inequity and violence and the tragic elements of human life won't change, but there's also the beautiful aspects of human life that haven't changed either. Believing in inspiration. And I could get on my soapbox, but I'm not going to. I wanted to ask you, simple, because you went straight into a whole bunch of other nuanced things. You just simplified them in terms of terms. So let's just do one. What is community?
Community.
For the people that may have an idea about it, what do you know people about community?
I'll give that answer a little, to me, because to me it's more like poetry. It's not like a Merriam-Webster definition. Like community to me is very words in itself are very limited, but that's a whole other conversation.
We've had a bit of that.
We have that like every episode.
We do. And that's why I asked. That's why we get into it. This is a What You Know show.
To me, I mean, a community can be any group of people, individuals. I'll say even like ideas, but that share similar cultural connections, that share similar ideas, or even that share similar myths. Well, there's not too much of a difference between myth and culture, but
that's cool. No, I know. Actually, I know where you're going with that. I understand exactly what you meant.
But in order, and for the sake of keeping it simple, but for like me, and I think about my community, like community to me is like, my community to me is my heart. My community to me is a reflection of myself. My community to me is my support group. It's my community is my net worth. My community is, my community is my passion. My community is worth upholding and uplifting. My community is, to me, is beauty incarnate. It's like what happens when open hearts and open minds can come together to support one another. And also part of why I feel so strongly about community is like I was raised in community. Like I nothing is separate from anything, and I grew up that way. Like my mom calls me like a community raised baby because I was always at different people's houses around different grandmas and uncles and aunties and great aunties and cousins and community mentors that poured a lot into me. I've gotten so much free game just based off of that open-heartedness that people received me with. I can never repay it back, and the only way I can is through also like being life's gift unto itself by breathing that same energy into others and doing what I can to give back, and to also continue to be a vessel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, for a community to thrive.
And so, in terms of your ideas about community, a shared cultural setting, despite the fact that I was a white person, you viewed me, like I said, in our initial interaction, you viewed that I was wearing the type of apparel that was associated with the culture in the Black community, and you also clarified that by saying I didn't do it in an inauthentic or like a hype beast type of way. And so it's interesting to
very important.
That's very important. No, exactly. That's why I wanted to relate from the top of the interview to where we are now to that idea, because what you're talking about is consistent. And so the reason why I bring up that authenticity, in the way I had, because the really important thing about dress and why I studied it and why I wanted to join Jada with You & Co. is that we judge people first and foremost based on their outward projection, their appearance, and we assimilate the different ideas and the stereotypes and all, because our brain we compartmentalize information since we were a child, a baby, to where we are now, and we compartmentalize that information, and then when we see somebody, we assume different things based on just our visual objective view, but it's not objective. It's very subjective because it draws on strings that you've learned throughout your whole life, and those types of prejudices really make themselves apparent. And the funny thing is, we all three, me, you, and Elijah, we had the same idea. Like, that's my man. That's my man. Ten Moy. Oh, I can't name drop right now. Ten Moyatata. I don't know. I'm just trying to make up something now. There are so many different people on the floor.
Ten Moyatata.
Ten Moyatata.
Why you add an extra A?
Because I'm trying to mask the man's name. If you're watching, we love you. But we didn't do that with Bob or Richie Rich and we knew to get serious again. We knew because, like you were saying about community, it's not necessarily you live down the street from me. It's not necessarily, oh, I knew you growing up. It's not necessarily, oh, we live in the same country. Would you agree with that as far as where I'm going? It's like you were saying, it's a shared ideas and it's shared experiences, and it's things that we can sympathize with, because we have the cultural understanding to sympathize with someone that we kind of had a similar experience with. And the thing about the What Do You Know show is, and this is why I wanted to ask you about community in particular, is that we can broaden community. It's very easy to sympathize with someone in your community based on cultural experiences and relative things that you can draw upon in your own mind. But we can broaden the community because what I understand about reality is that it's based on our individual perception of the reality. There's an underlying truth to everything. But I think that we can build bridges with people that aren't in our quote unquote community, because we're all human beings and we know what tragedy is in our life. We know what love is. We know what hate is. We know what pride and ego and honor is. We experience things similarly, but we also experience things dissimilarly. And with this show, what I want to do is invite whoever wants to come on and discuss what we are going through honestly. And I think that, and I would like to ask if you can agree, do you think that we can grow our community of people who are outside of it? Do you think that we're able to bring in people through honest conversations and dialogue? Because I try to, that's our goal on this show, is to facilitate the dialogue that will build the bridges. And I think, we hear it a lot. Oh, we want to have a conversation on race or sexual identity or gender or feminism or a lot of stuff, but they don't happen because people often are too close-minded to have an actual conversation with someone that disagrees with them. And I want to ask you, do you think that community can be broadened to the point where you can build a bridge with someone that initially had disagreed with you?
Actually, yeah, I mean, I see it. Like the way Kepra has been able to do that every day. Like, I mean, I feel and know that it's possible because I've seen it, and also not just in my own personal life, but in the lives of other people. Like, I see people come together and have those conversations. They don't happen on the mainstream level often at times, because there might be certain agendas that it might serve to divide people and to be divisive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it serves to be divisive. That's also one of the easiest military strategies: divide and conquer. You know what I mean? And the people that are divided cannot stand with one another. Like, I think that there are many bridges that need to be linked, and that there are so many different connections with people that suffer the similar types of challenges in this country. And I feel like, there definitely needs to be systemic changes in the way in which we relate to one another, and also in the way in which we relate to capital, the way in which we define relationships, even define wealth and define what matters. That needs to happen at a systemic level, and it doesn't happen at a systemic level without conversation first at the ground level. Mm. And I feel like what is crazy about this time period that we're living in is that it forces that. And that's the only way that we are going to collectively make it out of our current times alive. Which, as much as I believe in humanity, I don't think that's real. I do have I see what's going on. It's even the whole case with, and I'm not even going to go too much into it because I don't want to put the power of this conversation solely on Trump. But that situation that's happening politically, but that situation politically that's happening here, it's happening in so many different parts of the world. If you go to Brazil, you look at their president Jair Bolsonaro.
Bolsonaro, yeah, I know.
This man's
I'm up on game.
Yeah, no, this man actively is selling the Amazon forest, and there are people that still live there. That's a natural resource, and that provides 20% of the world's oxygen.
He also blamed NGOs for burning it.
And I can't.
You remember that?
Sometimes
do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I mean, that's happening all over the world. So at the same time,
let me actually kind of just let me ask.
Yeah.
That is often classified as like a right-wing thing, but as you know, liberalism or the left-wing thing is also spreading around the world as well. Divisiveness is being spread around the world because I believe that there is an intelligentsia that is creating divisions, not just in our communities, but within the countries and the entire global community, because of the fact that we live in an information. We call it the information age. I call it the disinformation age because, if you look at China, they don't have access to information. Oh, and then we want to ask ourselves, are we limited in our access to communication? We think no. But actually, what they do is they funnel. It's like an illusion, because what they do is they funnel the content through their algorithms, their suggested searches, their paid for bot ads, and their political, like you were saying, mainstream political discourse that funnels the confusion and it creates the divisiveness.
And that's just current day. Until there was a couple. I'm trying to remember. I can't even remember the names, but I know that they were involved or at least believed in ideas of the Black Panther Party, and they raided the FBI office. Until that point, which wasn't until the 70s, did people know about COINTELPRO.
Yeah,
and that was deliberate misinformation.
Yeah.
And COINTELPRO as a program had such a huge and significant impact on this country's history and trajectory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that was direct source of not only like the state violence, enacted upon communities that are actually trying to create what could have been a real democracy. You know what I mean? And actually have power that came from the people. But also and disinformation. That's straight disinformation,
bro.
That happened, and it's very intentional, and it happens all the time deliberately. And even on the liberal piece, do I get into this? The
podcast is wrapping up. Let's do it quick. Okay, and then we'll end on a happy note. Won't we, Griff?
Well,
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, even I remember Dave Chappelle talking about his stand up about the Me Too movement. I think that personally, I agree that if as a woman in the workplace, or just as a woman, period, as me as a man, I do not have any type of ownership or right to your body, to your idea or way to express yourself, any of that. At the same time, the way in which at the same time, there still has to be a conversation, because there's still a lot of learning and a lot of unlearning that we have to do as men in order to be able to get to that place where we can all respect one another. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of the ways in which it carries out now is that people retreat into these quiet corners and don't say anything because they're afraid to say something out loud. Even when we was talking about the white people keeping the best kept secret that they were all voting for Trump. That shit was hilarious because I was it's true. Everybody thought that Hillary had that shit in the bag.
Or even the LGBT card. That whole running joke.
Yeah, I'm saying that but I'm saying if we cannot have hard and honest dialogue and come from divergent perspectives across the board, and do collective community learning, we ain't gonna get nowhere. And there's gonna be a bunch of people that stay closeted in their ideas and stay stuck in their ways because they feel too afraid. And
also realize the other side is that they're just gonna keep the people who want to push their agenda are gonna push it farther and farther and farther and farther, because people, like you were saying, the people who just want to get closeted and they want to rescind from the national dialogue or the personal dialogue, if the people fall back and they don't feel like they can make an honest contribution to a discussion, the people who want to control the conversation they have the green light to just keep going forward and forward. And the funny thing, I am so amazed that you brought up comedians, because we are going to do a show on the YouTube What Do You Know show conversation. What do you know about comedians? Because what I understand about the comedian, just like the jester in the court, they are the ones allowed to tell the truth about things, but they mask it in a humorous form. But what they're doing is stabbing a knife directly into the belly of some controversial topic that none of us feel comfortable doing. But what they do is, I don't want to have the whole show out right on now, but I greatly respect comedians' courage, because it takes a courageous person to talk about something very controversial and make people laugh about it. And what it does is it takes off the people's armor. It exposes their vulnerability to a topic, because if a comedian bombs, it means that he's not relating. But if a comedian kills and people are laughing and they're crying, they're keeling over, that means he hit it on or she hit it on the mark. And that is just a straight arrow to the heart of things that we perceive to be controversial and we don't want to talk about.
Yeah, there's so many think about the last time there was an elephant in the room and you didn't feel like talking about that, and you just You know what I mean? But then you take those feelings and then they actually end up manifesting in all kinds of like maybe different types of fucked up actions because I mean of all God darn it,
this man
all kinds of messed up like those feelings that you didn't know how to address and that you never addressed, they could turn into all kinds of actions that are coming because you're operating out of your subconscious and emotional blockage. You know what I mean? That you don't know what to do with. So you out here making mistakes, disrespecting people, or doing all kinds of other craziness because you don't know how to deal with things that go on in your mind or your heart or how to express them.
Right.
Or if you don't feel safe or comfortable to do that. Like, yeah.
No, and this man is crazy. I raise my hands like this because he keeps reading my mind. Elephant in the Room, Patrice O'Neal. Check that out if you haven't seen it. Rest in peace, Patrice O'Neal.
Rest in peace, Patrice O'Neal.
Rest in peace, Patrice O'Neal. It's a sad thing he was taken away from us so soon because he'd be on top of the world at this point in time had he survived. But, you know, tragic things happen all the time around us. And so, Keenan, how can the people out there, you know, figure out more about you or interact with you, or if they want to work with you on a videography level or a consultant level, or even trying to get in touch with Kepler Institute, the things, all the multiplicity of the things that this man does, how can they get in touch with this man?
Actually, visit kheprw.org. Find out more about Kepler Institute. As far as you can find me on Instagram at Keenan Rhodes Mediums. That's KEENANRHODES Mediums. And that's where I post a lot of my work. Whatever my most recent project is or whatever my most recent initiative is, it's usually the link in my bio. Right now,
absolutely,
I'm hosting a podcast called Stories from Home, Living the Just Transition. And that is a part of the fellowship that I mentioned earlier in this interview. And it is the introduction episode. And we got more episodes coming. That's like, and if people want to reach me, you can DM me, and if you got my number, call me.
Absolutely. He won't answer, but
but I do listen to the voicemails.
Disclaimer.
So, Griff, you don't have any time to talk. We've totally got you out of this interview. I think you maybe said one or two things, has maybe 22 minutes of screen time.
Griff deserves more than one question, bro. And then we even get to ask a question,
I normally ask questions.
He normally does, but that's it. That's it for this episode. I just
That's it.
Listen.
Griff ain't got no question?
No, Griff is done for this episode. Last episode, it was he had the entire interview.
But he's the co-host.
That's what happens when you and I get together. But listen, driver's seat, it's still Black History Month. Go ahead and support driverseatmbd.com.
I'm glad you said that because I thought that one was for me. I'm going to go ahead and get one of those.
Yeah, and you're not going to take mine. That's going to be kept in plastic. This is the only one I'm ever going to wear. That is going to be archived along with the hat because driver's seat's coming up. Love y'all. What, Keenan? I'm trying to wrap this shit up.
High
Beep
key.
up.
High key, the driver's seat is fresh. I'm definitely. Oh my God, I didn't even see the bag.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Go to driver's seat and cop that.
driverseatmbd.com. This has been the What Do You Know show. Always question, what do you know?
You know what's crazy?
What?
I knew it was intense because I had my glasses off this whole time. That's hard. Bro, that's hard. That is so hard. You know, it's a champion. Flex. Big flex. Feel this. The under. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Are they just sweaters?
In terms of these two styles, yeah.
Man, but my shit full price. My shit don't feel like that.